What's going on, everybody? And not good morning, good afternoon, as we are back for day 2 of Eagles training camp with a post-practice podcast to talk about everything that happened on the second day of Eagles training camp. They were back at it on Thursday. It was hotter than it was on Wednesday. They practiced longer than they did on Wednesday. They did more team reps than they did on Wednesday. So even though day 1 was exciting, day 1's always exciting, really, if anything, unless I guess it's something bad. But if it's something fun, then day 1 is always good. I'm sure there's some things at your first day of you're not thrilled to begin, but we got day 2 stuff to talk about. I, of course, am Eliot, but no James today. Our sweet baby James is, getting ready for the morning show on Friday. But we got a second set of eyes at practice today. It wasn't just me today. Our good friend, obviously part of the Go Birds fam, Tucker, was at practice. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Ellie? You're right. Like, it was hotter today. We were out there longer. They were on a worse field. Like, we didn't have as great of a vantage point today. And there was no Rita's truck. Like, just in general, I think everything about today was a step down from day one.
All right. I literally have 3 things off of that alone. So first, did you wear a black shirt? I'm looking at you now. Did you have that on during practice? I feel like you did.
Yeah, it's navy blue. Yes.
It's a rough call by you.
Yeah, it was a bold choice. I definitely felt it at times.
Although, are we sure that wearing a black shirt is hotter than wearing a white shirt? Like, is that scientifically proven? Because the Eagles wear
I have a couple black shirts.
Yeah.
I have a couple black shirts that I feel like I'm baking inside them if I wear them in the sun.
I bet you anything, if I wore a black shirt out to a hot practice versus a white shirt, I bet you I wouldn't feel that different.
I would bet 99% of the time you don't notice.
Yeah, all right. But still, you did have a dark shirt on, so bad planning by you. But number 2, here's my thing with Rita's, and I'm sure we've done it. And let's be clear, Rita's, you want to sponsor the pod? I love me some Rita's. We're open. But I'm just not a water ice guy. It's just not my thing. I think the best item at Rita's is the soft pretzels with cheese on the inside. If you could tell me I could have one thing from Rita's, that's what I would pick.
Yeah, that's just an incorrect take. There's a Rita's maybe a half mile from my house. You know what? If it cools off tonight, maybe me, Mary, and Zeddy will go take a walk.
Wow. I guess you didn't get it during practice. But one thing that has happened over the past 10 years that's not talked about enough is the downfall of the cheese pretzel. You can very rarely find good cheese pretzels with the cheese inside the pretzel that aren't either baked to a crisp or non-existent.
I think you're right. That was a big thing growing up. Especially like in middle school and high school, like that was a huge thing.
Right. Those were
the cafeteria. When I worked at Wawa, that was always a very popular snack. I don't really see them around anymore.
So, funny story. When I was in 4th grade, there was, I think maybe it was Wednesday, was pretzel day at the cafeteria, and I loved getting the soft pretzels and putting mustard on them. But what would happen is there was only so many pretzels and the line would get really long, and then I promise we'll get to the Eagles. But I wanted to get those pretzels, but if people in the classroom were being loud, then the teacher would hold us into our lunch until everybody was quiet as a form of punishment.
Oh, no.
And one time I did the hypest thing ever. Once they let everybody out, I stayed back and said to the teacher, I was like, it is unfair that I have to wait when everyone else is being loud because I was missing out on the pretzels. In a retrospect, I get secondhand embarrassment just thinking of the fact that I did it. But that's how much I love pretzels. Just so everybody's aware.
How old were you? Was it like 5th grade or was it like 1st grade?
It was 4th. It was 4th. Oh. 4th grade. So, getting up there where I was being a loser for sure. A little bit.
You definitely knew better, probably.
It was me and 2 of my friends. I remember us all standing there, and the teacher's like, "What are you doing?" And we're like, "We need to talk to you." It was bad, but nothing changed if I remember correctly. And then finally, to get back to the Eagles, agreed. So some behind the inside the dugout baseball, there's 3 practice fields. Well, there's 4 practice. No, there's 3 practice fields. 3 practice fields at the NovaCare. One's on the far side of the field, the other's on the other side, and then obviously there's one in the middle. The one in the middle, not great views of practice. You have to stand behind the end zone. The practices are crowded. So you're right, today was not the best vantage point. But the good news of having you there today, and that survey we did, which again, we love everybody for doing, and thank you for doing. One thing somebody brought up, which was, I thought, good, fair, constructive criticism, is when I'm so focused on Jalen and how he's playing, it can be hard for me to have defensive observations. The good news is we coordinated. You focused on the defense today. I got the offense. So we're going to do some on both sides of the ball. But Tucker, I think the bigger story today, after really 2 days of camp, but especially today, is the defense and what's going on in that back 5. So what did you see today on day 2 of training camp?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it comes with the roster construction, right? Like there's a lot more continuity on offense, save for right guard. Whereas on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the defensive backfield, there are questions, right? You have a question at one of the outside corner spots. You have a question at safety and nickel, depending on where you want to put Cooper DeJean. And we've seen them rotate a lot of guys, right? Cooper DeJean has pretty much been exclusively the safety next to Reed Blankenship when they're in base defense. It's usually been the two of those guys out there. And then when he slides down into the nickel, they've been rotating quite a bit. Andrew Makuba got the first reps today in first team defense in 11-11 and 7-on-7. Andre Sam, who I had never even heard of until today, he got first team reps.
Number 31. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad. I should have done more prep work on the roster because I had a lot of number questions.
Yeah. Learning 90 players is not easy.
And they double up the numbers too.
Yeah, it's very confusing for sure.
Because there are multiple 31s and 39s and 42s on this team.
Welcome to the hardest job in the world. Just kidding. Yeah.
But Andre Sam got first team reps back there. Sidney Brown got first team reps back at safety. And then if you look at the other outside corner spot opposite Quinyon Mitchell, Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson were rotating there, much like they were yesterday. Though Adoree Jackson got the first reps today, whereas Keely Ringo got the first reps yesterday. And I just think looking at all that movement, and listen, it's early in camp. They're going to be rotating. They're going to be making moves. Like that isn't unique to this team or this training camp. But you kind of think about the guys they lost in Darius Slay and CJ Gardner-Johnson, and you went from having 5 good to possibly great starters in that defensive backfield to now you really have 3 with Blankenship, Mitchell, and DeJean. And, you don't have to think back that far to think about an Eagles team where the second cornerback got picked on a lot or the, weaker safety got picked on a lot. And, as we talk about this defense and Vic Fangio is obviously head and shoulders better than Sean Desai or Matt Patricia was in 2023.
Temple Man.
You do worry about that maybe being kind of the weak point of this defense. Like if they were to struggle early on, it might be because they don't really have a plethora of options in the defensive backfield.
Yeah, so I have big picture thoughts on that. But first, I think an important thing to note, too, from just watching practice today and really on Wednesday as well, I can't think of a single impressive play from someone in the secondary.
No, I couldn't either. And I don't know that, there's been a lot of checkdowns early in camp. That was another kind of note I had for the offense was just feels like a lot of checkdowns, a lot of short completions. The numbers exactly, but Jalen Hurts has 3 incompletions, right? And in two practices. I don't think Tanner McKee's doing much worse as far as completion percentage goes. But you're right. There haven't been any big plays. Zach Bond had a pass breakup today, and that was really the only notable play I saw from the pass defense in general.
And obviously that's not a secondary member, right? That was over the field with Zach Bond. So I think you can go 2 ways with this before we talk big picture. One is, Jalen's completing a high percentage of his passes. And we'll talk about that when we talk about Jalen. But the flip side of that is Jalen's completing a high percentage of his passes against his secondary. And not only is he completing them, guys are open. And not just on the first team defense. I mean, there was a throw today. Now, this is third team defense, so obviously take this for what it's worth. But EJ Jenkins was wide open for a touchdown. Now, Kyle McCord missed him, but there was a clear breakdown in the secondary. There was a throw today from Jalen to Devontae. So this is first team, defense, where Devontae's open about 15 yards down the field. So I think that, look, Jalen, as we know from last year, is not someone that throws a lot of interceptions. They only got 1 interception in camp last year, and they proved to be one of the best defenses we'll see in Eagles history. But there is always the flip side of when the offense is playing really well, what does that mean for the defense? And it just seems like the receivers are winning all of the one-on-one battles right now. Keely Ringo got beat on Wednesday for 2 deep passes, 1 for a touchdown. Today Goddard got between 3 defenders and caught a pass. Devontae was more involved today than he was in day 1 where he got nothing. So the offense is getting what they want against this defense. And so on the field, we can't really report on, this guy's getting burned consistently. Or I remember Patrick Robinson in 2017, it was this guy's awful in camp. And then clearly he ended up being really good. But the main takeaway, and again, from what you're saying, which, I was there, I saw it as well, but they don't know what they're doing in the secondary right now. And Vic Fangio talked prior to practice and said, if you had to make me guess right now who the starters would be, I'm not sure I would know. So there's an exciting part of that. There is the part of it where they could have guys step up. And a year from now, we're talking about how Keely Ringo really took advantage of his role. And hey, actually, Andre Sam's a good player. But the real thing about Andre Sam being out there is the fact he's out there shows how much question they have at the position. If, again, no offense to Andre Sam, he is an NFL player that has made it, and like, credit to him. But Andre Sam cannot be your starting week one safety, and he won't be the starting week one safety. So every snap he's out there is really just a poster for saying we don't have a safety next to Reed Blankenship. So you're right. I mean, from a personnel perspective, it isn't that anyone has looked bad, or it isn't that anyone is getting burned, or like, it's just they're rotating nonstop, which speaks to how much uncertainty they have there.
Yeah, and it's kind of a catch-22, right? Because if they were intercepting passes and making big plays, we'd open the podcast talking about how worried we are about the offense, right? And how worried we are about 100%. Jalen Hurts. That's a training camp issue every year. But, the other thing to think about is, the way they're moving Cooper DeJean around, and it's something Vic Fangio said earlier in the offseason about how he might get reps, outside at cornerback opposite Quinyon Mitchell and have both of those guys out there. The fact that that hasn't happened yet, I find kind of interesting. But just his ability and his versatility almost at this point, because he's rotating everywhere, it just doesn't really solidify things as much, right? Like if you're asking this guy to play 2 or 3 different positions, like that's great and everything. But then at that point, you're asking 2 or 3 guys to kind of fill in behind him and do other things. I just think it's interesting the way they've rotated quite a bit, and the depth that they have, I don't think is necessarily privy to, being able to roll out with 6-7 defensive backs, right? I think back to Jonathan Gannon when he didn't use dime defense, and someone asked why, and he's like, well, we don't have the personnel for it. We don't have 6 defensive backs to kind of roll with it. And you kind of look at the Eagles now, like Adoree Jackson's a professional cornerback. Like he'll be fine. Keely Ringo has shown flashes at time. I was high on him when they drafted him. They have pieces, I think, but the depth there at the secondary position, I just think is kind of a hole on this team right now.
Well, to that point, if you look at the depth that let's just talk about corner, right? So Quinyon and Cooper obviously going to play a ton. You feel good about where they are. But then after that, again, I was high on Keely. I think Keely has had practices where he flashes why he can be special. He's a complete unknown. Adoree Jackson is ideally not starting for a championship contender in the secondary. He started for the Giants last year. It was one of the worst teams in the league. After that, you have Mac McWilliams. And remind me if I'm forgetting someone. Like, I'm high on Mac McWilliams, but he's a rookie mid-round pick. And then it really is just a bunch of undrafted UDFAs. Like, they all kind of blend together in my mind, but they have a UDFA from Pitt, a UDFA from Oregon. They don't really have any other.
Oh, they still have Eli Ricks.
Eli Ricks. And I almost tweeted this today. I will be on my deathbed being like, Eli Ricks would be a good NFL player, but they're not gonna let him play. I mean, that's pretty obvious. He didn't play last year. He was like a healthy scratch every week, if I remember correctly. So they doesn't seem, and we know how Fangio is with the guys he likes. My concern is, and again, this is kind of something with Jalen, it's a Jalen Carter point, but it can be used for Quinyon or Cooper, which is the defensive line is so dependent right now on Jalen Carter being awesome. If he goes down, they're in trouble. God forbid Quinyon or Cooper have a sophomore slump, which is completely fair of them to do. Like, asking them to be in their second year, the cornerstone, have to be awesome players in the secondary, is asking a lot. And it's not about their long-term projection. It's not about how good they are. It's about the fact that when the league has a full year of tape on you and you got to go and do it again, that's extremely hard to do. So Quinyon or Cooper could easily have a down year, and then they could be all pro players the rest of their career, but they could easily have a down second year, or God forbid they get hurt. And if Quinyon or Cooper goes down, like, they have a lot of unknown there. So they are depending on them greatly, and they just don't have a lot of NFL experience behind it. And I normally hate to give this answer because I think it's such like a like that's the best way I can describe it. But I don't think the starting safety is on the roster. Like, I think they're going to go out and add a veteran guy. I mean, think about Sydney, and they're the 2 guys that are competing at safety right now next to Reed Blankenship have played a combined like 200 snaps in the NFL, and they're all on the one guy, which is Sydney.
Yeah, I mean, like you think about it, like you mentioned, Andre Sam and Tristan McCollum both got first team snaps. Like, you might as well just put a guy out there with a question mark on his jersey. Like, that's kind of where you're at right now. And I don't know if they're waiting for Justin Simmons to finally come around, and maybe he's waiting for training camp to get halfway through so he doesn't have to deal with these hot summer days. But
which
that's kind of where we are right now.
I hate that, by the way. Sorry, not to interrupt.
Oh, me too. Like, that's not necessarily a guy I want in my locker room. Well, I don't want a guy sitting around waiting so that he doesn't have to work.
Well, and look, maybe his thing is I'm going to bank on the Eagles wanting me as opposed to signing with, whoever. Like, I was going to say the Atlanta Falcons, ironically, but that's who he just played with. So maybe that's it. But I hate the whole, well, he's going to sign in camp because he doesn't want to practice. Like, come on, man. Like, if there's like a backdoor agreement between the two that you're going to be here, then get here and play. So, yeah, I mean, we say it about the edge position too, where Jalix and Nolan have to be some of the lowest snap starting edges for any Super Bowl contender. That's got to be true for the secondary too. I mean, Quinyon and Cooper have 1 year. The safety has almost no experience, whoever it's going to be, unless they add somebody. And Reed has a ton of experience for sure. But outside of that, I mean, they might have less than, if you take away Reed, the other 4 guys when they play nickel might have less than 2,500 career snaps. If I'm doing the math.
Yeah, and I think it's funny. Like, Vic Fangio's grumpy today. I think he wasn't really in a great mood during his press conference.
He was loving that smoothie though.
But he did love that smoothie. That probably is what got him through it.
Yeah.
But he mentioned, someone asked him, how is Quinyon Mitchell's life going to be different this year with Darius Slay not on the roster? And he really took exception to that question. He didn't like it at all. But as we talk about this team and we talk about kind of the role that's expected of him and Cooper DeJean, like, you can't really hide them as well, right? Because you don't have CJ GJ behind them. You don't have Darius Slay locking up, the number one receiver on the other side of the field. I mean, these two guys, and they played well enough that they do deserve, the benefit of the doubt and these high expectations heading into year 2. But it isn't a situation where, oh man, if they take a step back, if they do something, if they aren't as productive as they were a year ago, we can adjust their role and we can move someone else into that spot and maybe hide them a little bit, because right now they're 1 and 2 on that part of the field.
Yeah, well, and since we're in full doomsday mode off of your observation, we'll just keep it going. Like, the other thing I would say is, so Fangio completely dismissed the Slay thing, right? He was like, well, they line up 50 yards apart. But what the question was more about was, and I think Fangio just didn't get it, but is, hey, Quinyon was not the guy last year, and now Quinyon is the guy. And so Fangio either dismissed it because he doesn't want that narrative to begin, or he didn't understand. But you're right, he was not helpful with that question. But I think, afterwards, Quinyon talked, and Quinyon said he still talks to Darius Slay like every other day. And that's awesome. And by the way, I think it shows that Slay is a good locker room guy, despite what people might think sometimes. Like, Slay was a big part of that locker room. But I think what it also shows is, these guys need people to go and help them. These, like Quinyon and Cooper, ideally are not the guys you have other players going up to in their second year, because they have not. I mean, they've seen more than most rookies because they went all the way to the Super Bowl. They played in Brazil. They played a snow game. Like, they've seen quite a bit. But Slay has seen everything twice. Like, Slay has seen it all. And you were at a decent amount of practices during training camp, but like, even during the season, Slay spends a lot of time after practice, like, working with these guys. And maybe Adoree can end up being that guy, but Adoree is new. Adoree is also adjusting. He's learning. He's, moving to the city. He's figuring out where to order DoorDash from. Like, he has enough going on his plate where he can't be the one that Quinyon and Cooper go to. So I think Christian Parker is a really good secondary coach. I think that they have, obviously, Vic's a great defensive coordinator, but the lack of experience in that room combined with the lack of answers is worrisome for sure. In a year where, just one more thing, in a year where they probably won't meet the expectations because how awesome they were. When you think about ways at this time next year, we're talking about why it wasn't a good 2025. The lack of experience in the secondary is probably something we've not discussed enough.
Yeah, I just think it's an area kind of prime for regression. And these are first world problems, right? Like, if you ask the 31 other teams in the NFL,
for sure,
they would love to start a secondary with the players the Eagles have. But, I mean, like you said, just based on the expectations from a year ago where they lost 1 game from the beginning of October onward, I just think we're not going to see a total juggernaut from all 22 starters the entire season. Like, I think there's going to be, at the very least, an adjustment period early on.
So now that we've completely made everybody in a bad mood with how bad the secondary is going to be, James would never stand for this, by the way. James would,
No,
yeah,
I felt like I
James.
should jump in, but I was also the one being negative. I can't
Yeah,
yell at
exactly.
myself.
Yeah. So let's move on. More defensive stuff for sure. But let's talk about Jalen because he is the quarterback, and that is a positive. So Jalen Hurts today. Let me pull up my handy dandy quarterback stats as I try to pull them up while I'm on the. Ooh, man, I just followed someone. Someone followed me on Instagram. I accidentally followed him back and then clicked on follow. So I
Wow.
apologize for. I know I feel bad about that. Okay, so Jalen Hurts today. 17 of 19, zero touchdowns, zero interceptions, but very similar to day one in the way that he was 14 of 15 on day one. But I thought a very different 17 of 19 today. 14 of 15 on day one. And you were there day one too, actually. So, like it was, I don't want to say dink and dunk, but it was passes predominantly under 20 yards. I think he probably only threw it deeper than 20 yards once or twice. I thought today he took more chances with the ball. He had two incompletions, one of which was a drop because Will Shipley. It was still a nice throw. It just was dropped. But he had two throws that really, really stood out. And the first one, so it was me, you, and BLG. We're all standing next to each other. And very comical, by the way, to stand next to BLG. He's so much taller than me.
I could like be on your shoulders, and he would
It's
still be taller than
it's
us.
crazy. It
You could put
literally
both
is.
of us in a trench coat, and we would still be shorter than him.
Honestly, if James was here, he would remember the movie. What's the movie with like Danny DeVito and is it Arnold Schwarzenegger on the cover? And it's my
Twins.
friend. Yeah, twins. And one's short and one's tall, right? That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Next. Yeah, here we go. Right. That was like a poster for whatever that old movie is. But anyway, so Jalen made a throw. I can't remember if it was in sevens or 11s, but I guess I could probably check. But it was a team drill, obviously. And Goddard was across the middle of the field, maybe 15, 20-ish yards, maybe closer to 20 yards, down the field. And he just laid a ball on Goddard. That was sometimes in a game, there's only one type of throw that will result in a completion. You have no wiggle room. You can't throw it too hard. You can't put too much touch. Like it has to be the perfect throw. It was the perfect throw. There was three defenders around Goddard. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., granted not Jahad Campbell with his arm length, but jumped all the way up, extended his arm fully. The ball must have gotten over his fingertips by 2 inches, if that, and just softly landed in Goddard's hands about 20 yards down the field. Perfect touch throw, perfect placement. BLG and me agreed. It might be one of the best throws we've ever seen Jalen make in practice. It was awesome. So there was that throw. And then there was another throw where he hit Devontae going across the middle of the field. We talked about this a little bit. We talked about the defense. Devontae was open, but it was still a really nice throw, hitting him in stride about 15, 20-ish yards down the field. Those were the throws he made on Thursday that he didn't even attempt on Wednesday. So I gave him an A for the Thursday practice. I thought he was awesome, in pretty much every way.
Yeah, I mean, one of his incompletions I thought was a pretty poor pass, and Zach Bond batted it down
that was
over the middle.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, and the funny thing to me was, day one was an AJ Brown day, and today, day two, was a Devontae Smith day.
Yeah.
Like he didn't target Devontae Smith once on Wednesday. I think he got 4 or 5 targets today, and AJ Brown maybe got 1. Like, I don't know. It was just funny that
you do
Devontae Smith was completely forgotten about yesterday. And it happens in real life. It happens in the games, right? If Devontae Smith only gets 2 targets, you better put an anytime touchdown bet on him the next week because they're going to feed it to him. And that's how it kind of felt today. Like, oh, we forgot about him. He beat Jeremiah Trotter Jr. on like a little crossing route. He had that catch you were talking about. Like, he had a pretty big day at practice just because he was heavily featured in the offense, unlike he was yesterday.
Yeah, and you have to wonder if maybe last night they saw practice tape and Jalen's like, got to get him the ball. But what's your thoughts on Jalen completing such a high percentage of his throws? So through 2 practices, he has 3 incompletions. And then overall, now this is including OTAs, but I think it's noteworthy. He's thrown 93 passes in front of the media. He's completed 86 of them. It's 93%. That is an absurd percentage. Like as someone that tracks training camp stats, you should probably be around 78% when you consider how many dunks, like short throws you have available to you. But 93 is crazy. So I got my thoughts on it, but what are your thoughts on Jalen being 93% overall? And I think 93% through 2 practices if you don't include OTAs.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it's impressive, but the degree of difficulty on most of these throws is pretty low. Like he's not necessarily pushing the ball down the field. Through 2 practices, I think we've noted he's had like 2 deep pass attempts. Like they're not bombing, 40-yard, post routes down the middle between 2 safeties. Like they aren't necessarily testing the secondary that way. But I mean, the fact that he's become that kind of rhythmic passer where he's able to take those passes, I do think it's somewhat impressive. And it's a far cry from where he was early in his career, right? Where he kind of sat back and scrambled. And, if he couldn't hit a deep ball, then he was just kind of running. The fact that he's able to take these checkdowns and make these throws in rhythm, because he's not necessarily holding the ball for a while. Like it's funny watching someone like Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Oh, it's crazy.
He holds the ball for like 10 seconds.
I was going to make, yeah.
And in 7-on-7, he's holding the ball for like 10, 15 seconds with no pass rush. And then he scrambles for a first down and celebrates. Like the fact that Jalen Hurts is now taking what the offense is giving him and taking what the defense is allowing him to take, I think is a positive step forward for a guy who at one point was seen as turnover prone and at another point in his career was kind of seen as a boom or bust guy.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm happy you brought up DTR. Like it really is like watching rookie Jalen take reps to teams after current Jalen does. I remember watching.
They're the same age.
Currently?
Yeah.
I mean, Jalen is young for when he was drafted, which is crazy because he played so much college football. But regardless, while you look that up, I remember watching Jalen his rookie year, and me and BLG were talking about this actually. Like the amount of times Jalen would hold it in 7-on-7s, and frankly, he still does do it a little more than you would think. But regardless, when he was a rookie, one
Hurts
scene
is 6 months older.
Hurts is 6 months older. Okay, well that's pretty crazy because he's entering year 6 and I think it's year 3 for Dorian Thompson-Robinson, right?
He spent 5 years at Chip Kelly.
Yeah, that adds years to your life. Yeah. But anyway, Jalen, like as a rookie, I always remember, Fletcher Cox yelling at him during a play, like in a joking way, but in a very serious way, like, yo, man, you got to throw the ball. Right. And Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he's got to have ran it 50% of the plays this year. He runs the ball, right? And it's quick. To your point, it is not like he's looking around and nothing's there. It feels like he starts to run as soon as the football touches his hand. And so my thing with the 93% is Jalen, like I get it. He's not going to complete 93% of his passes in a game. And I get the whole, maybe you want to throw it down the field more. But it just shows he has all the answers. Like, even if he is missing, let's say we got to rewatch some of these plays and it was, hey, AJ was open and Jalen missed it. So that's not a positive play. But you know what? They did get 5 yards because Jalen got it to somebody. And I think the difference is a young quarterback that hasn't seen it all. He's not going to complete 93% of his passes because he doesn't know the answer to every play. He doesn't know pre-snap what the defense is doing. Here's what I want to look for. And if that's not there, I know I'm going to have this because I know the defense is doing that. And when you can do that, then you can get to 93%. And really it should be higher because one of them is a drop. So that's my thought on it, is it just shows the football IQ. And it shows that this year, I think we're seeing, I said this when he won the Super Bowl, I would buy Jalen stock because I think he's about to skyrocket. I think we're seeing Jalen in complete control of his domain. And it shows in practice. Like, I'll be curious if you agree. He looks so calm. Like he is never, he's never running around and figuring it out. It is always pretty quick precision, like going through it.
And like just going through everything, right? The way he runs onto the field, the way he commands the huddle. Like he seems like a guy who's just calm, and he's not being lazy. He's not being lethargic, but he's being purposeful. And I think the other thing to think about when we talk about how he's just kind of taking what the defense gives him and he's just making these routine plays during practice, he's playing like a guy who doesn't have anything to prove, really. Like he's playing like a guy who isn't desperate to keep his job. He's playing like a guy who he knows what he's going to do. He knows what's going to happen on every single play. And he knows come week 1, like these are the plays that are going to win football games. Like he might need to throw a 70-yard touchdown to A.J. Brown, but he knows. And I think part of it was the development that he kind of made last season from the turnovers he had at the beginning of the year towards the end of the year where he was so cautious with the ball. He understands just taking care of the ball, being able to move the chains and keep the offense stepping forward is such a huge part of their game.
So there was a moment in practice early on. So early on in practice, they basically are doing individual drills, and the quarterbacks are doing. I honestly wouldn't even describe it as a drill. Like they basically are just playing catch, right? And as part of it, Jalen, they throw him the ball like a snap. He takes a few steps back and he throws it. And afterwards, he goes to Patullo, and I have video of it. Maybe I'll tweet it out because it's not like secretive or anything. But he's like doing hand motions and pointing things, and I'm thinking to myself, what could he be thinking about from that throw? And what I think it shows though is this dude is locked in on like the X's and O's of this playbook, and every single thing you use the word intentional. Single thing he does, like he is learning from it, and he is doing it with a purpose. There are no wasted reps or steps with Jalen. He is everything he's doing. He's doing it for a reason, and so I definitely think 2 days through. You got to feel really good about where Jalen is at. All right. Is there anything, what's the next thing on the defense you want to scare us all about?
No, I don't want to scare anybody. I don't want to. The other thing that I noticed was just the rotation they had at edge and defensive line, really. Like, for the most part, Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt have been the first team edge rushers, pretty much. I think all of yesterday they took every single rep. Today, by the end, they're mixing in Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche a little bit on the edge. But I just think the defensive line as a whole, even without Jalen Carter there, like just the depth that they have, I do think, maybe opposite than the secondary is somewhat impressive. They ran a 5-man front at one point with Thomas Booker, right? Thomas Booker?
Yeah, Thomas Booker, yeah.
He was in the middle with Davis and Moro Ojomo, and then they had both edge rushers kind of pull out and drop into coverage. And I just think the athleticism that they have kind of on the edge, and I don't know if they're necessarily better than Josh Sweat or Brandon Graham, but Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham were kind of just pass rushers. And even though Brandon Graham was a fantastic run defender, like they weren't dropping into coverage, they weren't kind of used as those chess pieces. I think the athleticism that the Eagles now have on the edge with those two guys, maybe Campbell gets out there at some point because he's built like that. Like him and Jalen Hunt look exactly the same as far as body type wise. I think they're going to have a lot more chess pieces at edge where they can mix up looks on the defensive front and maybe free up spots for Jalen Carter to kind of get one-on-one when he shouldn't.
So I'm sure I could find it, but the fact that Jalen Hunt lined up at safety is wild. In college, I mean, not in the NFL. He must have grown 7 inches and put on 80. There's no shot that body was playing safety in a college game. He would hurt somebody coming down the field and running. Like, I think the league would be like, nah, you can't line up there, man. But no, so here would be my thoughts on the edges so far. First of all, I think it is a particularly hard position to watch just because of the field level. We don't get replays, all those things. Jalen
and they're not going after the quarterback.
Yeah, they don't have pads on, all that. I will say, I've not been super impressed with the athleticism and the size of Josh Uche and Azeez Ojulari. I agree with you that they are more athletic at the position than they were last year because Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham were particularly unathletic. Like, they're obviously great players, but they were not. Speed and agility was not the name of their game, right? They're both kind of like stocky. I guess Josh Sweat was long, but he wasn't super fast. Josh Uche looks small to me. Like, I remember last year, to keep bringing up BLG, we were standing next to each other in practice, so we talked a lot.
He should be on the pod soon.
Yeah, it's almost like he'll be on there tomorrow. But I remember when the first time we saw Bryce Huff at practice, it was like, that dude's small. Like he's small. And I think the same thing when I see Josh Uche. He looks small to me. Now, it could be because Nolan and Jalen are particularly long and lean. Azeez Ojulari is bigger. It's like stockier, a little bit stockier than I expected. I don't know if it's the type of pads he wears, but he doesn't look ultra fast to me. I don't know. We'll see. Now, Jalen Hunt had a sack in practice. I've not seen Uche. I've not seen Uche or Ojulari stand out at all. I don't know if you noticed anything today. But
no, I just noticed Ojulari was dropping into coverage a lot. Like when they were doing those 5-man fronts, Nolan Smith was rushing the passer against the right tackle, and Uche or Ojulari was dropping into coverage against the tight end. Like, they did that I think 3 or 4 times, that I thought was somewhat interesting.
And they do have that ability again, because like you just said, Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham were not people you wanted to do it. But just athletically, I haven't been blown away by them. I truly don't even mean it as a slight, because we'll see when they actually play. But just physical observation from watching them. As to the depth on the line, I thought it was interesting. Vic Fangio today. And I'm 99% sure, maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm 99% sure he went through the guys that are going to help take snaps now that Milton Williams is gone. And he mentioned Moro Jama. He mentioned Ty Robinson. He mentioned there's someone else who I'm probably forgetting right now. But he did not mention Thomas Booker, if I remember correctly. So I thought that was a little interesting, just in terms of roster construction. Normally, guys that they just ring off the top of their head are guys that are on the roster. And he didn't say Thomas Booker. Now, I think Thomas Booker will make the team probably, but I thought that was interesting. Overall, their depth along the line, I'm more intrigued by the depth they have at defensive line than I am in the secondary. But I think they're somewhat of a similar. Well, no, they have more experience, because Josh Uche and Ojulari have played way more than any backups they have at corner. But they don't have anything proven overall.
No, I think they have more depth on the defensive line and maybe more at edge, but they don't have the same kind of star power, right? Like, I think both Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, if they play the way they did, like, they're Pro Bowlers, they're all pro level players. I think easily Azeez Ojulari, like, he's had success in the past, but he's, an above average starter if he kind of hits his mark. Josh Uche had one great year, but same thing. Like, he's not going to be making an all pro team. But I mean, the fact that, if something were to happen to Jalen Hunt and he goes down, you have a legitimate, guy who has starting experience behind him.
Well, and Vic Fangio today, just speaking to JLX, kind of threw water on the praise they've been getting, because on Wednesday, Lane Johnson, or no, it was Jordan Mailata compared him to Micah Parsons, which Jordan can't wait to do radio with you this year if you're going to be throwing out stuff like that. And then AJ Brown called Cooper All-Pro Cooper. So I do think Fangio wants to calm expectations for these players, and I think that's true. Like, again, if we had to say, who are the 3 players what you're getting from next year? Like, you absolutely, it could be a little better, a little worse, but you have a very good idea on who they will be. I mean, Reed Blankenship, I would say, right? Like, I think Reed is who Reed is. I mean, Jalen Carter, I guess he has 2 years of being a pretty high-level player. I'd be surprised if Jalen was a net negative, right?
Right.
And then who? Like, who would be your third?
Like, Zach Bond would be my next one, but he's also only done it for 1 year. Like, he has 100%. 1 year. Like, if he were to regress and, be a league average linebacker, like, I don't think anyone would be that shocked. Like, the shocking thing is he went from a career special teamer to an all-pro player in 1 season.
Right. Yeah, so I think that's just kind of what's shown on the first 2 days on the defensive side of the ball, is there's not a lot to depend on. And I think I think on offense, the variance is pretty low. Is that the correct use of that word? I feel like that is, right? Like, they
have a high floor. They definitely
somewhere between first and like 7th in points, and it'll be close, right? Like, we know what they're going to be on defense. Now, if the offense is really good, that'll help the defense. But you could tell me the Eagles defense will be 5th next year, or you could tell me they could be 19th, and I would believe either. And what would you set the over under on where they finish in points? I know it's not the best metric. Everyone's be like, oh, do it. But like, what, just points? Like,
I would say like 8.5, like back end of the top 10. And I think Vic Fangio raises that floor quite a bit. Like, I think we're maybe scarred from 2023 and how it unraveled. Like, I think he's smart enough and he's experienced enough to raise the floors where they're not going to finish 31st in points allowed. But yeah, I mean, it could be a situation where they just don't have the horses to compete against some high-powered offenses.
Agreed. 100% agreed. All right. Are there other things that happened that we should talk about? Do you have anything else down on defense?
Not really.
Okay, that's fine.
I wrote good pursued by Uche on a Hurts rollout, so maybe that's some praise for Josh Uche.
You probably meant to put pursuit.
I did. Pursuit. What I said.
I misheard what you said. Okay,
so I said good pursuit by Uche on a Hurts rollout.
So there's a good play by Uche. I didn't.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, there we go.
Doesn't show up in the box score. It's all about context.
It's exactly right. Well, you don't have to tell me. We won't talk about that right now. But On offense, the last thing I would think of to say, well, a couple minor things. One, I think AJ Dillon looks pretty impressive in the open field. It probably helps his legs look pretty strong that he basically works out in a Speedo. Like
Do you think he like went to the equipment manager and like showed him where he wanted his shorts to end?
So let me say
the
this.
Smallest shorts I've ever seen on a man.
Let me put on my veteran cap here. Quite a few players actually practice. Not quite a few, but I've seen some players wear. I mean, Saquon wears similar shorts. Would you agree?
Rashid Campbell does as well.
Who's Rashid Campbell?
Rashad Campbell. Jahad Campbell.
Okay. I was like, what are you talking about? For a second, I thought it was some Temple reference. Okay, yeah.
No, I meant Jahad Campbell. I just couldn't.
You're right. He also wears small shorts. But AJ Dillon looks impressive in the open field. Like he moves in an impressive way. So I think that stood out. It's standing out to me how him and Shipley are splitting the backup reps. It's not been a heavy dose of Shipley as the number 2 running back. I do think he will be the number 2 running back, but maybe what we're looking at more is a 1 in Saquon and a 2A and a 2 like C in AJ Dillon, as opposed to a 1, a 2, and 3. Like I think they've been splitting it somewhat evenly. And then Terrace Marshall is standing out. Terrace Marshall physically, like you just look at him next to Ainias Smith, and it's crazy they play the same position. I mean, so frankly, I would not keep Ainias Smith on my 53. Now, we'll see how the rest of it goes. He reminds me of Jalen Reagor in the way that he's supposed to be someone that's elusive because of his height, and he's just not elusive. He's just not. And I don't know what Ainias Smith's special skill is. Now, he has time to develop. A.J. Brown is helping him, but he's got to show some type of special skill over the next month, in my opinion, to make the roster. Whereas Terrace Marshall has size, he has speed, he catches most of what's been thrown his way. A.J. Brown said he's going to make the receiver room uncomfortable because of how good he's been so far, and he's gonna pressure people for their jobs. I was impressed by Terrace Marshall. Did you notice anything with him today?
No, I mean, I don't think Terrace Marshall's an NFL wide receiver. We actually debated this quite a bit when they signed him.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot you were a big buzzkill in the group chat about him.
Yeah, well, I watched him with the Panthers. I didn't think he was that great. But
how much did you watch him with the Panthers? Is this a Matt Rule thing? Is this?
Yeah, I watched every Panthers game for 3.5 years.
That is like almost as crazy as how much milk you drink. Like it was like
it was terrible.
Drinks a lot.
Looking back on it, it was horrible.
The Panthers. Yeah. How long was Matt Rule even there? Am I making that up? He was there, wasn't he?
He was. Yeah. No, he was there for 2.5 or 3.5 years. I think 3.5 years.
Temple football has to like send you something. A nice gesture. You love Temple football. I give it to you. Hey, I'm a Temple guy.
Casey Keeler, let's go.
Yeah, we got to get something with Temple. I do think often about how fun it would be if we had a Temple player on our NIL. We gave him like, $500 and he was sponsored by Go Birds. I feel like that.
My brother works in the athletic department at Temple. We could probably work that out.
All right, let's pull some strings. But I'm higher on Terrace Marshall than you are. I think he's not been in good situations. He clearly is a good athlete. You just watch him move. He clearly is a good athlete. I've been more impressed with him than it sounds like you have. And
I think outside of AJ Brown's catch yesterday, like his catch over Keely Ringo was probably the second best play a receiver's made. I do think at running back though, with AJ Dillon and Will Shipley, they're so different as far as their running style goes, right? And I wonder if we reach a point where if Saquon misses a game or Saquon goes down or if they're just trying to rest him, does A.J. Dillon kind of become the de facto early down back because he is bigger?
Yeah,
because
I think he will.
Tougher yards, and Will Shipley's he's always going to be the backup third down back. He's going to be used in the passing game. He's going to be used in screens and, kind of quick scat back things. Whereas when it's 3rd and 2, I mean, we know what they're going to run in short yardage situations, but A.J. Dillon's going to be the guy where if Saquon goes down, he's getting 15 carries and Shipley's getting 8.
Yeah, no, I think that could be the case, for sure. So I used to think AJ Dillon could get cut and put on practice squad. I'm going to do my 53-man roster tomorrow, and maybe I'll actually try to put it out on the pod. But regardless, my 53-man roster will be out soon. And one thing I'll say through 2 days of practice, and this will be the last thing before we get to final thoughts, like I don't think they have 53 players you have to keep. Like I think they probably have 47 players where you're like, those are the best 1 through 47 in the NFL. But there's been a lot of years where we're doing these pods and it's, no, you can't cut Eli Rex. Or like, whoa, you can't cut Tyree Jackson. Or like, you got to keep this guy. Like, he has so much potential. He won't make it through waivers. Look at this guy that's crushing it. I don't think they have those guys this year. In fact, when I did my 53 last night, I was at 51 and I was like, I would have been cool just stopping there. Like I had to add people on. And, watching them practice, like Montreal Johnson Jr. out of Florida has stood out a little bit, but I can't think of anyone through 2 days that's been, a potential training camp darling.
Yeah, like I don't think there really has been, and maybe we wait for the preseason games for someone to stand out. But I think two other things maybe kind of play a factor in that. One is just how much high-end talent they have. Yeah, right? Like I think normally sometimes on bad teams, if you get like 60 average players, you can sit there and try and, come up with different roles and different jobs for people. Like the Eagles have, I don't know, 26, 27 really good football players who are de facto on the team.
Really, really good football players. Like, like guys that are not allowing others to shine type of thing.
And the other thing, like it can get crowded sometimes along the offensive line. And I don't know if they have that much offensive line depth. Like we're not sitting here clamoring for, man, these 12 guys all deserve it. I mean, right now, I don't even know like who would be your top backup tackle and backup inside guy. Like we talked about it a little bit yesterday at practice, but they don't really have a starting right guard right now. I mean, it's probably going to be
it's going to be Steen. It's going to be Steen.
But it's going to be Steen. But they don't have like 3 or 4 guys who you think, man, one of those guys is going to get cut and we're going to really miss him.
So I agree with you on that. Like we're a Trevor Keegan pod, but I think he could get cut and I wouldn't be like, what a mistake. On Miles Hinton from Michigan, I think is intriguing, but he's not someone you probably want playing this year. He's maybe a little more ready just because he played big time football in college for a while.
Right.
But like Cameron Williams, I don't think is an NFL player currently. Holland Pierce, the big tackle out of Rutgers, I think is a project. I actually think their backups are pretty clear cut, but I don't know if it's a good thing. I think Matt Pryor is their most valuable backup offensive lineman by a wide margin. He can play both tackles and both guard spot. And then I think you have Drew Kendall as the rookie guard potential backup there. But you're right. Like I think they have 7 good offensive linemen, and then they have a bunch of guys who are, projects where you're like, I'm excited about Cameron Williams, but I'm not excited about Cameron Williams playing this year. They have like 4 of those guys. So that would be maybe the one position where I think they go heavy because you don't want to cut those guys. But yeah, I don't think they have 53 players you got to keep. So let's get into, I said this to you prior to the pod, like, do you have a final thought? And I guess I found out you've been hiding final thoughts from us.
So once upon a time, James teased that maybe I would do final thoughts, and I didn't want to be without one. I wanted to make sure I was prepared should the day come. And here we are. I don't know, 6 months later.
And you're ready to go.
I made this note on my phone in November. So here we are 9 months later.
All right. So do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, let's do it.
The most annoying text to get is when someone just says, "Hey."
Oh,
I can't stand it. It is like if you have something to say, like it's one thing if maybe you're meeting someone or you're trying to impress a girl and you don't want to come off too excited.
I would not suggest it to a girl, but yeah.
No, I can't stand it, and it's even worse when it's someone we work with.
Okay, so I know. No. I know exactly who does this because it's the first thing. Jack Fritz texts, "Hey," all the freaking time. And you know what makes it annoying? And what Jack does, it's annoying. But to your point, what makes it annoying is it's like, what am I supposed to say back? Like, hey, what's up? Like, just say what
I know he wants something. I know he wants something. And this is his way of like soft launching it. But it's annoying that we have to do this whole dance. They're like, hey, how are you? How's it going?
Exactly.
Oh, by the way, can you post this podcast for me? Like, well, just say it. Like, just come out with it. Well, and I wasn't even thinking of Jack. I was thinking of someone else.
Oh, really? Because Jack does it all the time.
Jack does do it all the time. But there's someone else that we work with who will like message me at like 9:00 on a Monday morning, like, "Hey."
Wow. Like, so the annoying thing is it puts you in the driver's seat of the conversation you didn't start.
Yeah. Like, I don't. How's it going? Like, fine, but like, I don't really want to do this with you. Like, unless you're a really good friend. Like, I just don't think. It's a good conversation starter.
I think even a great friend. It's like just be like, "Hey man, did you see this trade?" Or, "Hey man, like, what are you up to this weekend?" Instead,
of hey, you want to come over? Like, just do it all at once. Don't wait for a response and then go for it. Like, I don't know. It's almost like you're worried that they're not going to respond to it, so you have to wait to see that they're on their phone, and then you kind of like. It feels like they're trying to trap you. That's what it is.
I 1,000% agree with this. I co-sign the take. All right. So here's mine, and this is a Tucker related take. So we've talked about doggy daycare, right? And like, putting your dog when you go away and it's expensive and it sucks and all that. But one thing you do that I had never done, and when you told me, I was a little surprised, is that you put your dog in dog daycare, like if you're both out of the house for the day, right? Like
Yeah, we both go to work.
you'll put ZD, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So Kristen's away this week on a work trip, and I've been out of the house quite a bit, obviously because of training camp. And what I've noticed is when I leave Kingsley home alone all day and I come back, it's gonna honestly sound like I'm talking about a kid or whatever, but it is what it is. He craves my attention. I'll be trying to sit on the laptop and he does a thing where he puts he paws your hand off of it or whatever. So yesterday, Wednesday, for day one, I put him in dog daycare for the day. Like I dropped him off at 8:30 and picked him up at 5 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Best decision ever. Like you were so correct about this. He comes back. He's so tired. Like he seems happier. Like I did it again today. So I used to not be team put your dog. Like, it's kind of silly in a way. Like you're spending $40. Like he'll be fine at home alone. But I'm in. I think it's a good move, and it's something I think we'll be doing more often.
Yeah, I mean, we just do it because like if we're both at the office, like we leave at 7:30, like I might not get home till 5 or 6. Like,
right.
If we're out for 10 hours,
he would be okay. Like
he'd be okay if we left him in the crate, but like I don't know, I want him to be more comfortable, and like I don't want him to not be able to pee all day or whatever. Like,
you leave him in a crate.
And when we had him as a puppy, like that was a big issue. Like if he had to pee every 2 hours, we can't leave him at home for 8 and like cross our fingers. We know what's going to happen. But yeah, like he gets kind of nervous when we do go. Like he shakes in the morning when we take him there, but then we go and he jumps in their arms. He has the time of his life.
Same.
So we pick him up after and he runs around the yard for 10 minutes and then sleeps the rest of the day.
It's amazing. So Kingsley, I also think it's only 2 days. I think he knew this morning he was going. Like he was like excited. We walked to the car, he jumped in, and then we got to the place. He like pulled to get in. So anyway, to anyone out there that has dogs that has not done it, I think the output is worth the price. I think it's a good call. So I'm going to pick him up today. He's probably going to be. Now I will say I don't like when he comes home and he's clearly been playing with dogs and it's like slobbery. Like I don't enjoy that.
I don't like the smell of when he comes home from daycare.
100%. Yeah, same. But it is what it is. I could give him a bath, but that's kind of Kristen's thing. I don't do that. So, all right, that'll do it for day 2 of the Go Birds practice pod. They do not practice on Friday. So on Friday tomorrow, 10 a.m. Me, James BLG, doesn't matter to you guys. It's at 10 a.m. because we will be posting it later in the day, but we will have it in your feed tomorrow, sometime in the afternoon. And then Saturday, the team practices again. And I'll have a post practice pod for you. No Go Birds radio because of those darn Phillies, but we will have plenty of content for you in the coming days. So thanks for doing the pod, buddy. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I had fun.
All right. Well, until next time, he's Eliot. I'm Tucker. Talk to you guys later.